Greetings and salutations. Welcome to my channel. Um, I was going to just talk about comic books on my channel, but then I realized that I have a diverse fan base. I like Star Trek, Star Wars, comic books, video games. So I'm going to be talking about what strikes my fancy that week, from anything from pulp culture to what I'm working on in my comic book universe that day. Uh, I hopefully you enjoy. I will be doing a lot of backgrounds on my characters for you to understand who and what they are, what video games I like. Also, what's wrong with the new Star Wars, to what's wrong with Marvel. What I like about Marvel, which is a lot. I do love about the Marvel MCU. The um, movie aspect. The comic books I kind of fell out in the late 90s, yeah, about 98, 99. I stopped buying comic books. They stopped tickling my fancy. I like DC. I like some of the DC superheroes a lot better than Marvel ones. They're the larger than life superheroes. They most definitely have a presence about them. You know, when old school Superman came, he had a presence about him. You know, he was larger than life. Batman was larger than life. Even though he didn't have any superpowers, his story made him larger than life. A lot of modern comic books have forgotten that it is a hero story. It's a legend to be told. It's a view for us to get almost a mythology of um, the modern superhero, you know, the modern hero. Um, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, they all supposed to be larger than life. Writing them to have drama and personal issues, no problem. But when it's all about that and not about them being larger than life, that um, spiritual dilemma of right and wrong, good and evil, you kind of lose a lot about the superhero genre. Also, having superheroes that do not have to face challenges or diversity will bog down your comic book to the point that nobody wants to read it. If you have a superhero that is larger than life and has a spiritual or personal dilemma that radically makes the character rethink its entire life, or her entire life, or his entire life. Um, the readers can get behind that. You know, they can go, well, this person has to reevaluate their existence. That's the reason why, like in the '80s, the Dark Knight trilogy was so big, because an old Batman had to come to terms with being, well, old. Um, so it was still hard for the reader, because the reader was going through that journey with him, and that's what you need to tell in your story. A start, a middle, and a ending to your story. You know why you're there, the motivation, the motives of the people that are in your story. You can't just go, well, you know, this superhero, he has all these powers, so he can just automatically do everything underneath the creation. That makes the character, one, incredibly boring. Two, you're not going to sell the comic book very often. And three, it will have no legs. You give the same character a spiritual or personal decision that he has to overcome, or a bad guy that can kick his butt, but he still has to overcome. Those are the stories that sell. Those are the stories that resonate with readers years after they were sold. Like the Crisis series, there was consequences. Some of those superheroes that died in that never came back until after the year 2000, and Crisis was in the late 80s. So you you have to give them um, weights and measures. You have to give them a plot that they can follow and rewards that are justified to their actions and consequences when they fail. And for readers to believe your superhero, they have to fail. All your superheroes have to fail, and all of your bad guys have to fail, right? And sometimes they have to fail catastrophically, like in the death of Superman, when everybody was too late to get there to save him when he was fighting Doomsday. A lot of those superheroes that witnessed his death had a long and hard journey after his death, overcoming his death. Even when he came back, some of those characters were forever altered because of, Superman's death, right? So you can um, do this. You can make even the simplest characters that are in your story have arcs that are worth the reader's time. Even the non-superhero, non-powered, normal everyday girlfriend, you can give that person an arc that saves your lead. And you can make it believable. And when you do that, your comic book goes to a next level. But if you keep doing that, then people are just going to go, oh, this is another time where the girlfriend saves the hero. You have to pick and choose your plots and pick and choose your devices that you're going to use to get your characters over the hump that is the heroic's journey. They start off kind of on the weak side. They have a heroic act that puts them into action. They strive, they fight, they scrap, and then they win at the end. And that's how this happens. Me and my friend had a probably a 2-hour conversation about the reason why the new Star Wars doesn't feel like the new Star Wars. Rey's not on a hero's journey. She started off perfectly flawless. She stayed perfectly flawless through the entire movie. She started out the second movie in the same exact place that she was in the first one. And she stayed in that niche all the way through. She was so perfect and flawless that the greatest Jedi Master to ever live, Luke Skywalker, didn't even have to teach her. No, not once. No teaching. So that put a massive dampener on her character. And I didn't mind the character because it was a girl, but if you did that even with a male character, people would be turned off on it. Because the character has to show some growth, something to overcome, some task that is greater than them. So they have to fight and scrape and scratch for it. But Rey hasn't seen that. Rey has had everything handed to her on a silver platter, and then, it was just given to her all the way through both movies. And from watching the trailer this morning, it looks like she was given that in the third one too, which makes her character a speed bump all over it again. They have to give their female Star Wars characters an edge, a story arc where they start off weak, something happens, sends them into action, they get larger than life halfway through the movie, not at the beginning, halfway through the movie. They overcome their opponent, they overcome their diversity, they overcome something that makes the people in the audience that are watching this see it and want to come back for more. Thank you for listening to this, and thank you for clicking on my video. If you wouldn't mind, hit subscribe if you like the content I was giving you, and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you very much, and have a good day.